Okay, so welcome to the travel tip. I have now gone to about 65 countries in the world, which I think there are about a little under 200 total. So that isn't really, maybe 1/4, a little over 1/4. The world is huge, but it's a beautiful place. And I think I've always thought it's kind of amazing how we're all on the same earth, the same planet, and there are lines drawn here and there and if you cross the line, sometimes the way people live is just so different, and sometimes you cross the line and there's no difference at all. The culture is very fascinating and very beautiful to me. So I have traveled to many different types of places and different continents, and I have put together a huge list of tips and advice for your benefit. Hopefully some of them are helpful to you. The first one I want to start with is awareness. So I have some specific ones, but in general, the one thing that I have found that has helped me the most in traveling is to be very aware of where I am and who's around me, aware of how I'm feeling, aware of being in the present moment. Because when you think about safety, or you think about, hey, I'm traveling, I've wanted to do this all my life and I'm doing it, I'm here, am I really being present? Am I really appreciating it? Am I really loving the moment and making the memories that I will have? Or am I always thinking, oh no, what am I doing tomorrow? Do I have to be at a certain time here and there? So there's a little bit of that letting go, but mostly awareness. Awareness is number one. And being aware of your surroundings, being aware of grounded and aware will keep you so safe, more than any little tip here and there. Because if you're aware of how someone keeps looking at your hand on your purse, or if you just become aware, oh, maybe this person wants this from me, or there's so many little things to be aware of. It will protect you like you have no idea. And these are in no particular order, just how it came to mind, and I wrote it down. Something that I have benefited from a lot recently is shoulder season. Shoulder season is great. Right now, Greece is extremely expensive because it's middle July. You know, everyone wants to go to this beautiful island, Greece. I was in Albania a couple of months ago, and I was there during shoulder season, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful there. And it was very inexpensive too, because the weather had just changed. I got an inexpensive ticket to get there. The hotels were inexpensive, and it wasn't crowded yet. But they told me if you stayed 2 more weeks, it will be totally populated. I think I don't remember exactly when I left. It might have been beginning of June. I'm not sure. So if you kind of time that, and you don't have to do a ton of research about it necessarily, you can if you're going to plan ahead. But like me, what I did is I go to flights.google.com, and you can search anywhere. So you put where you're coming from, and then you search. Leave it empty where you want to go, and they'll give you some suggestions. Or if you have a list of 3 to 5 top places you want to go, you can look it up there. And the nice thing about flights.google.com is that it'll compare everything out there, and then I suggest you buy it directly from the airline. I have bought deals that are just like 10, 20, whatever dollars less from some suggested website, but I don't suggest you do that, because I have subsequently lost the whole ticket because something happened that I had no idea would happen at the airport, and I couldn't get the refund, or something out of my hands. If you buy it directly from the airline, if something happens, they will take care of it. I've had so many times, not so many, maybe just two, but enough to learn my lesson, where I've wanted to reschedule it or I think what happened was I accidentally scheduled the wrong date. I think I scheduled the wrong date. They suggest dates and I thought I had put in the correct date, and I think I did, but then it must have refreshed and I bought the wrong date. It could happen to anyone. I usually am careful, but it happened, and I lost the ticket because I didn't buy it through the airline, and it was impossible to get through to anyone in customer service to help me. So buy through the airline. Shoulder season, yes. So I would just use shoulder season is great. You'll get all the best things at a lower price, and not just lower price, it won't be so packed and touristy and crowded. All right. Food. I'm just going to start with some of the main things. Food. Be careful about food. I'm very brave with food, but I'm also vegetarian. So what I suggest and what works best for me is to have parameters for yourself. For example, me, I'll go to a restaurant and I don't have to have things perfect. I don't have to know even what it is, but it has to be vegetarian. And I have to feel pretty good about the cleanliness of the restaurant. And as they say, usually go into the bathroom where you can kind of get a sense of, is this clean? Does it seem like people are washing their hands or not? I've been to, I also eat street food. I have not gotten sick once, any stomach virus traveling, except for when I was 16 years old. And that's because I drank out of a stream in Honduras because I was extremely thirsty. We ran out of water, and you're never supposed to drink directly from a stream. So of course I got very, very, very ill, but since then I've never gotten sick. So for example, a few weeks ago, I was almost going to buy this coconut to eat off the street. Seemed pretty safe, coconut is cut. It's, you're eating the meat from the inside. But then I saw someone with their hand grab some water and pour it onto the coconut to make it look good. It makes it look fresh and keeps it fresh. But where did that water come from? And are they using their hand all day? They don't have any place to wash their hands if they're selling it on the street. I decided not to get it. So stuff like that, keep it in mind. So have parameters that you want, but also be flexible. Try new things, because that's the beauty of traveling, trying all the delicious foods of the different parts of the world. Modesty. I have gone to a few countries recently where dress is a lot more modest than I would naturally wear. When I'm warm, I like to be carefree. I mean, I'm wearing short sleeves, but oftentimes in the summer I'm not. It's just sleeveless. But there's something to be said about when in Rome, you don't want to stick out as a tourist. Dress similarly to where you're going. It just makes sense. And if you don't, it's okay. In many places, they allow for tourists. It's not going to be a problem, but just know you're going to stick out and you might get attention you don't want. But if you don't mind the attention, then no problem. In some countries, depending on where it is, they might ask you for photos. If you look different, if you look very different, you might have people come to you on the street or anywhere and ask for photos. I've been asked for photos in China, Vietnam, Thailand, India, all kinds of Africa, all kinds of places. You can say whatever you want. You can agree. I used to agree to photos. because it's fun, and I would take a selfie with them too, and I would remember it forever. I have them still. It was really like, it's a sweet thing to connect with someone and take a selfie. But I ended up having some very bad experiences recently, and I don't take photos anymore, especially when especially when it's not a family. If it's a family or a child, sometimes, I might do it anyway, but I've stopped doing that. I had an experience where I was taking a picture on a bridge with a family. I had made an exception. And it was all great. They were even shaking my hand, taking pictures. It was fun. We were having fun. But then these three guys came and they were like, we want a picture. It wasn't a question. It was just like, we're going to take a picture with you. And I didn't want to cause any problems. So I just went ahead. I thought, okay, I'll just do this, take this picture very quickly, and then keep on going. This family was there. They interrupted the family. They were very rude. I didn't want to cause a scene, but I did for a second. And then, he started getting closer to me and closer to me. And then he said, give me a kiss for the camera. And then I said, no. But no did not mean no to him. And he physically put both his hands on me, my head and my shoulder, to force me to kiss him right there. I had to like fight myself off, and the family was yelling at him, distracted him. I got away, but I will not take pictures anymore. And I say it nicely. I decline nicely. I just say, I'm sorry, I can't. They don't have to know why you can't. But that's my advice. Do what you want, depending on the situation. Sometimes it's hard to say no, but that is my advice. So let's see. We've done awareness, shoulder season, photos, modesty, food. Okay, cars and navigating the street. Many countries drive on the other side of the street, as you know, and well, it's one thing to be on the left side and riding in a car. You most likely won't be driving on if you're in a country that is different than what you're used to. I am not brave enough to try driving on the left side. I thought about it here in Sri Lanka. It's on the opposite side as the US, and I'm not comfortable renting a car. Even though I want to rent a car and drive around the island, I'm not going to do it because it's not safe for me to do. But there's more to it than that, because even if I'm getting an Uber or getting a taxi or whatever, that's fine when I'm in the car, even though it might be unnerving. But crossing the street is a lot more dangerous when you're not used to it. I didn't realize this until I almost got hit many times crossing the street. I thought I look both ways. I'm very careful, but we look to one direction, the other direction, and then the other direction, and we're used to them coming from the left. But if they come from the right, things happen quickly, and they might drive even faster there. I have almost stepped out into traffic and gotten hit so many times. So be super, super careful when crossing the street in other countries, because the rules might be different, the driving rules, and the side of the street you might not be used to. It might be more dangerous. So be careful. Your health is really important when you travel. Health is super important, and you want to stay healthy. You don't want to have to be figuring out healthcare issues or having an emergency or feeling ill when you're traveling to have this great experience. So do whatever you can to stay healthy. That, for me, that includes supplements. From the supplements, but I don't take too many with me because I don't want to take too much extra stuff. I take a combination of a high potency vitamin C, D, and zinc. And then, here and there, if I have a few other things that I want at the time. And people say I've heard the advice, don't eat fresh fruit or vegetables when you go to certain countries because you don't want to get salmonella or E. coli or whatever that is. I always eat fruits and vegetables because if I go without eating fruits and vegetables, that's bad for my immune system. So I eat fruits and vegetables. I'm just careful about where I get it. And I hope that it was, cut in a place that doesn't have that. And I've been lucky so far. It could happen, but I think it's unlikely, especially if you are kind of aware. And also I also eat whole fruits easily. So if I'm in a country and I want a snack, I might go to a market and get a few apples or delicious food that they have there. They have food that you can peel. Mangosteen is my new favorite fruit. In Vietnam, they have mangosteen, and you just break it apart and it's delicious. So I eat fruits and vegetables. I'm just careful about it. I have been careful about water bottles as well. I don't drink from the tap. I don't think I even do that in Europe, even though I can probably. So make sure your water is fresh. I would recommend water bottles. And I'm not picky about brushing my teeth. I'll brush my teeth with the tap water, but when I drink water bottles. Oh, yeah. So I guess it's possible to get it through brushing your teeth, but yeah. I don't know. I guess I've never gotten sick that way. But I also am very careful not to swallow anything when I brush my teeth. I just like spit. So yeah, thank you, Maria. So take both of those things into account. When you make your decision. If you want to be extra careful, might be the way to go because you don't want to get sick. Okay, something that I found is really fun is when I'm going into a country that might have cool things to see in the city, like the Eiffel Tower or the pyramids of Egypt or something, I Googled the side of the plane that has the best view. So you just go on Google and you just say flight from Kathmandu to Delhi, what side of the plane is best? And they'll be like the right side because you'll see Mount Everest on the right side. And then you book your flight and sit on that right side. I highly recommend Google that. The US allows for more luggage than many other countries. So I err on the side of being small, having small luggage as much as possible. If you look at my luggage, you would not think it's small, but my carry-on, the dimensions are the smaller dimensions. In the US, you can buy like the biggest carry-on that, quote unquote, that they will allow you, but they won't be allowed in other countries. So that would be a disaster. I mean, not necessarily, you'll just have to check it and you won't have it with you. And there are a couple reasons that it's nice to have the carry-on with you. Obviously, you will not have to pay that extra fee of $35 or whatever it happens to be. But I like to have, when I pack my carry-on, I pack at least one change of clothes. I pack everything that I pack my most valuable clothes and belongings. I pack a change that I could wear easily in the next couple days if my luggage got lost. Think about it this way, like if your main luggage got lost and you just had your carry-on, possibly forever, could you live with it? So put your stuff in that way. Also, you can pack the heavier things on your carry-on so that you can, if you end up having lots of heavy stuff or souvenirs, pack more into the smaller one and then more fluffy things into the big one. That's one of my little hacks to do. But remember the toiletries, remember the liquids, do not have any of that carry on. Sometimes you can have trouble with weird metal things. For example, I got some pretty metal singing bowls in Nepal. And I also got these really beautiful, like metal handmade purses that are more like a work of art in Nepal. And they're heavy. And I didn't want to put that in my main suitcase because I would be charged like an exorbitant amount because it would have made it go over the 20 kilograms. So I packed it in my carry-on. You know, it's not a liquid. Well, I was totally flagged going through security. They had me unwrap everything and they were like, what is this? And then they probably were thinking, is this legit? Is this a bomb? What is this? So I had to prove it by, he was like, make it make sound. I had to prove that it made sound. So I had to like do this in security. I was a beginner and I could barely make it make sound. I was like, really, it worked. Anyway, there's going to be things that if you never thought of that is going to happen. I don't know about you, but one of the hardest parts of traveling is before you leave home, packing up, wrapping up everything in your life to be able to leave home for that amount of time. That's the hardest thing for me. And I know that if you have a house or an apartment or a place to rent and you have bills, it makes it even harder to travel because you have extra stuff to take care of. If you have pets, kids, whatever, it's going to be harder. So give yourself some love, self-care, and know that, yeah, it's hard. Once you get through it, once you get to that airport, it's going to feel so good. Not only because you're traveling, but because you've probably taken care of some of the bills, of all these things you have to do in life, so that when you get back, it'll be a clean slate. So keep at it, just put one foot in front of the other. You can do it. Wrap up, do it. If you can, be smart about it. One of the main reasons it's easy for me to travel at this point in my life is because I'm in transition. And luckily, I realized that my transition in life was actually a blessing. I think as humans, we have a tendency to want to be grounded. So when we are moving, I moved during COVID. I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast. And I realized I could go and have a new place to rent or buy. I could go switch my job completely, or I could take this opportunity to travel. You know, I have a really old car. I need a new one, but instead of getting a new one, leave it. I don't have a car payment. I don't have a house payment. It makes it a little easier to travel. But if you do have that, there are a lot of different things you can do. There's something called Turo.com, Turo, to rent your car to people. There's house swapping. There's temporary house renting for traveling nurses, for people, all kinds of things you can do. So even if you don't have the answer, if you know what problem you want to solve, you can Google it, or even better nowadays, ChatGPT can answer lots of questions. You just say, hey, I'm traveling and I want to cut down expenses. What could I do? What are some ideas I could do about my house expense or whatever? Try it. ChatGPT is great. All right, so we did the notes, pictures, everything up. Yes, and as I mentioned earlier, booking.com is where I go through everything. I've tried hotels.com, been stranded places, because most countries, I have not encountered one country in the world that does not take booking.com. I have encountered countries that do not take hotel.com or whatever. I've heard great things about Airbnb, but it's always a little bit riskier. And I have gotten to the top level on booking.com, which gives me maybe 15, 20% off each hotel room each time I book, and usually a free breakfast along with that. And in other countries, the breakfasts are usually wonderful. I've also found that cash is used often in other countries, a lot more than I was used to. I am in a predicament right now here in Sri Lanka. This is my 5th day with no money. Okay, another thing, things are gonna happen. Things are gonna happen you cannot prepare for. Go with the flow, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna live through it. You're going to live through it. Breathe. This is what I've been doing myself. I think my debit card for the first time in 65 countries was flagged for possible fraud because of probably traveling to so many countries. They probably thought, what's going on with this card? And I think I forgot to tell them I was going to Sri Lanka. I've told them other locations, but I forgot. I made a mistake. I forgot this time and it was flagged. And on top of that, I have not been home in 6 months. I have not been to the US in 6 months. And during those 6 months, my bank was bought by another bank. And they sent me a new ATM card, which of course I don't have because I'm not there. So I can't reactivate my new ATM card. And because of that, reactivating my debit card is taking a long time. I've been in this country for 5 or 6 days now, and I have not had any access to any funds. And everywhere takes cash. My hotel takes cash, food takes cash, Uber takes cash, and they don't take credit cards. So luckily, they're also very trusting, and they trust them. I seem more concerned about this than them. They know that I'm going to pay them, but I've been having the hardest time getting cash. Even getting through Western Union is widely used throughout the world as a place to wire money or get money or whatever. And even through that, it's been very difficult. So it's instead of going into too many specifics about this particular situation, because it's such a unique situation, my lesson is that there are situations pop up that you will never think will happen to you. They'll happen. And it's just going to take problem solving skills. And it's also going to take self-regulation, anxiety regulation, and realizing when there is a will, there is a way. There is a way. I am going to get cash. And I found a way, by the way, today. And to just keep taking the next right step. Don't give up. Don't let it ruin your whole trip. I still have been enjoying the beach. I'm a digital nomad, so I'm actually working while I travel, and I have been very productive here as well. So I've been able to learn how to compartmentalize. Okay, I did spend an hour or two trying to figure this out, and I was not successful. I'm going to go take a walk on the beach now and be present in the moment, be aware and present. This is where my meditation and my soul spa comes into play. I do it for myself. I get grounded, and it's possible to travel's about having new experiences. This is a new experience. Okay, I'm going to switch subjects real quick to purse style. I highly recommend a crossbody purse. One also that has zippers that can't be easily taken off your shoulder or from your hand if it's across your whole body. It's a zipper you can't easily be stolen from. Even though I have a crossbody and zipper, I often walk with my hand on it, resting on it. And I'm aware of when I take my phone out and take pictures, I notice when people notice they're looking at what type of phone I have. You can tell iPhones from how they're shaped and everything. Be aware, be careful. I haven't been stolen from yet, which I'm grateful for. And I've also been careful about when I'm not using my phone, I keep it away. I don't keep it out in my hand. In some places, I've been warned, people driving on the street in a motorbike, they just snatch people's phones. Be careful of those things. When you're in the airport, or not necessarily the airport, I've also been told, don't flash your US passport around. Like when you're not using it, put it back inside of your wallet. and same with jewelry and stuff. I wear fun, like I got this earring in Nepal. I wear fun jewelry, but nothing that looks too expensive. You don't want to be attracting that kind of attention. Oh, souvenirs and packing. When I pack, I love plastic bags that are clear because you can see easily where your stuff is. Huge Ziploc bags that are freezer Ziploc bags are great for two reasons. First, you can see all the toiletries that are inside of it. Second, when toiletries burst or leak a little bit in the plane from altitude changes, it's in the plastic bag. It's fine. It's not getting anything messy. Love it for that reason. Bring a few extra. There are different modes of transportation that are part of the fun of traveling that I have loved more than I ever thought I would. One of them is driving in a motorbike. I love being on the back of a motorbike, and I used to be so scared of motorcycles, but it's fun. And I have never witnessed one accident in a motorbike or otherwise by a local. All the accidents I've heard of, I have seen people that are injured, other tourists that try to ride the motorbike themselves, but not the actual people that are used to it. So take the ride, but be careful about doing it yourself. Wear a helmet, take the safety precautions, seatbelts, helmets. Okay, so motorbikes. And then the other thing I love are either sleeper trains or sleeper buses. They're popular in other countries, and I tried it. They're so comfortable. So comfortable and safe. You have a bed and you're on a train. So 5-10 hours from here to there, you get a great sleep, and it's extremely inexpensive, and it's fun because you could get to look out the window and see the landscape, and comfortable. I just highly recommend sleeper buses or train. However, if you're taking a sleeper bus or train, Google the particular one so you know that it's a clean one or not, because some of them are better than others. Okay, and I've mentioned things are still going to happen. Let it go, move on, have a good time, go with the flow. Hotel safety. This is a tough one for me. Before I left the US, I thought, oh, it's going to be easy. I'll just get these little gadgets that'll lock the hotel door. You know, you see those things online that are great in the US. They're great because all the doors are the same in the US. The doors are not the same everywhere, you guys. Not only, I mean, sometimes it's just like this metal thing that you push through, or you know, there's no way to predict what kind of door you're gonna have. Don't even bother bringing it. I bought one, brought it, has not worked. What I have gotten is pepper spray. I've brought pepper spray. I don't know if it's allowed or not. I don't know if it's legal in every country, but when I come to another country, I put it in my checked luggage sometimes, but I lost that. I don't know where that went. And also another thing that I have brought is like a pocket knife set, but it mostly focuses on like a fork, spoon, can opener, but it also has a knife. So you actually do have a weapon if you needed it, but not that I would ever want to use a weapon. My safety has been more psychological than physical. Like, I'm not gonna fight someone off. I'm just, prevention is everything. Feeling comfortable, read the reviews of where you're going to stay online. Reviews are very, very important. And the way you present yourself is very important too. That could take a whole like hour session in itself. It's like the psychology of how you present, but with power, but not in an aggressive way. Because being demanding, being entitled is going to attract aggression. But being confident and requesting in a kind way does wonders. If you give a lot of love and kindness, it helps a lot. Follow your instincts, listen to yourself. If you don't feel comfortable with something, leave, even if it's uncomfortable and you don't want to offend somebody. It's probably for a reason. Listen to yourself. Do what you have to do. Stay safe. Send somebody the location where you are, just for safety, so someone always knows where you are. This might sound funny, but online before booking, make sure there's a window in your room. Not all countries have windows in hotel rooms. You can't always prepare for everything when traveling. So, I have all these tips of specific things, but you have to be creative. You've got to believe in yourself. I'm going to give you, is it okay with you if I tell you a story about a hotel room? Okay, thanks. I arrived, here's another tip. Do not arrive in the middle of the night if at all possible. If you have to pay a little bit extra, arrive in a normal time of day. Before COVID, I traveled to China and I found this amazing ticket. It was cheap. I didn't bother to care what time it landed, because I thought, well, I'm going to be on jet lag anyway. Who cares what time it lands? It landed at 2 a.m. in Beijing. And airports are different there. I got to Beijing. I thought I was going to sleep in a sleeping pod that I saw they had there, but it's different. You cannot, once you exit, you cannot go back in. You have to get out of that. You are required to get out of the airport. And once you're out of the airport, it is busy. You don't have time to think. People are asking you if you want a taxi. It's different. So I was unprepared. I did not have a place to stay. I thought I was going to stay at a sleeping pod in the airport and then meet my sister and friend later, that when they arrived 12 hours later, and they did the smart thing to arrive during the day, and they had a hotel booked. So I went to the ATM, which is my preferred way of, I highly suggest, don't worry about exchange rates or getting money beforehand. Just get it at the ATM when you arrive at the airport. It's better. So I did that. I went to the ATM, but I had someone looking over my shoulder the whole time, and they saw that I had money. Couldn't hide that. Couldn't do anything about that. And then they were very friendly, and they said, I have a suggestion that you go to this hotel for 4 hours. It's a cheap hotel. You can just go there, and then in the morning you can go to your regular. You don't have to take a taxi in the middle of the night. It might feel weird. Just go to this 4 minutes away. I was like, okay. She was wearing an official uniform. I said, I don't have any other choice. I did it. I went into this weird parking garage, went into this van, took the ride to the airport. I'm sorry, to the hotel. Got to the hotel, and I just got this weird vibe. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. I didn't trust myself. I thought, oh, maybe it's just a cultural difference. No, after experiencing the rest of China, rest of that part of China, China was great. I had no problems in the rest of the parts. It was a wonderful place to visit. It was just that hotel. They charged me twice what the lady said they would charge first. So then I was, of course, I don't like to be overcharged, but on top of that, the honesty thing I knew was out the window. I didn't know how to trust anyone at that place because they were just going to take advantage of me because they knew that I was in that position. I saw right in front of me, they charged somebody half the price. And then they showed me to my room. The room did not have the lock didn't work on it correctly. And it was a rundown place. I did not feel safe there. I went back to the front desk and I said, I don't feel safe. And I was nice about it. It's like, I don't feel safe. The lock doesn't work. Can you please give me a room with a lock? And they said, that's all we have. And I said, and then I realized at that point, I could not be nice anymore. I just had to be really firm because I had no other choice. And I just was like, well, if this is not all you have, get me the ride back to the airport. Then I'm going back to the airport. And I felt so unsafe. And I was emphatic about it. They didn't want to do that, of course. They weren't going to. They could have said no. I had this bad feeling about that place. And then finally they have this teenage looking person take me. They were like, these are the only 3, you can choose the room you want then. You have these 3 rooms. He took me to 3 rooms, all 3 of them, the lock didn't work. Actually, one of them, the lock did kind of work, but it had a window to an inner courtyard that did not lock. And it was on the 2nd floor and there was a ladder strangely to the window. It was really creepy. Very creepy. But you know, I didn't know what to do. I had no other choice. I felt like I had to stay there. There wasn't transportation back. I felt a lot of hostility to me. So I took that one room that locked, but had that weird window that didn't lock. So this is my tip. You can't prepare for everything. Do the best you can in the situation and be creative. So I did the best I could, but I still was in trouble. My creativity came when I saw that there were hangers in the closet. I made this makeshift hanger contraption. And I made with some other way, a board or something, I made so the window would only open one direction. And if that direction, it would be very, like with the hangers, it would get stuck and make a lot of noise, wake me up and everything. So that's how I kept myself safe for 4 hours. I was exhausted, I fell asleep. And then I left there at I told them what time I was leaving in the morning, but I didn't have a good feeling about that. So I ended up leaving earlier, getting another ride. It was crazy. Anyway, I feel like this recording is going very long. So I think I've talked a lot longer than I thought I was. I still have more. Do you want me to continue, or does anyone have a deadline? I highly recommend pack the same things in the same places as much as possible. I only follow this in I have smaller bags. So my toiletries, my hair stuff, shampoo, my shower stuff goes in one bag. My sink stuff goes in another bag. My makeup stuff goes in another bag. My vitamins go in another bag. So if I'm looking for something, I know, oh, my pink bag has this. Oh, my see-through weird bag has this stuff, you know? So you can find things a little bit easier that way. And that's when the Ziploc ones come in handy a lot too. I get small souvenirs, as I mentioned earlier. Bless you. Get small souvenirs because they add up. Those souvenirs add up. Even if it's that much, like, even if it's just a handful and you do a good job with this much souvenirs, that's a big chunk of your suitcase, you know? And some people like to travel with backpacks. I do not travel with backpacks because I have scoliosis and my body does not like to carry stuff everywhere. But if you like that, good for you. But I highly recommend something that rolls easily. Okay, determination plus flexibility is what I have found works, is the attitude that works best when traveling. You have to have determination. So my determination recently was, I want to see the Taj Mahal. I want to see all the 7 wonders of the world. I've seen all but 2 now. The Taj Mahal is very important to me. However, it is in Agra. There's nothing else to see in Agra. Agra is known to be very, I don't know how you say it. It's not a place people visit unless it's for the Taj Mahal. And so just to get around was a lot. It was a lot. So I had determination that I was going to do it, but I was very flexible in how I was going to do it. I ended up taking a sleeper bus there from Jaipur, and then a sleeper bus from the Taj Mahal to this other the yoga capital of the world, Rishikesh, India. And that was the best option, the sleeper buses. It was better than flying, because in India, it's a lot more complicated to get around, I found, especially because in the northern part, it seems like everything has to go to Delhi first. So there's no direct flights unless you're going to Delhi first. And having extra luggage, it's hard to switch flights, and then you sometimes have to check in again. It's just complicated. So I did the sleeper bus, loved it. It was great. Okay. Travel now. Don't wait until later. Travel when you're as young as possible. I'm 46, but I am so glad I'm not waiting. I have back issues. Like, it's hard for me to stay on a plane for that long. It's not comfortable. And I end up having to carry my big, huge suitcase places. And I'm doing the best I can. I don't know what I would have done if I waited to do some of these things. If I tried to see the Taj Mahal when I had anything worse than I have now, it would have been really tough. So travel now, even if it's that little spurts here and there. I think travel is different depending on your time in life. I think when I was in my 20s, it would have been different. Now it's different. I think 20 years from now, it'll be different. And I think I'll enjoy it differently in those times too. I think I'll probably want to relax more and have the good life a little bit more then. But I'm willing to rough it and do what it takes a little bit to get to these places that are very important to me personally. I like a lot of historical places. All right, practical tips. Hat and scarf. I always have a hat to shield from the sun. I don't usually go around with hats but when I'm traveling, you can't control how long you're in the sun sometimes, and it can get really bright. And so bring a hat. Scarf can be used for so many things. It can be used to shade yourself from the sun. It can be used to keep yourself warm. It can be used in the airplane to have privacy, or to have a little pillow, or it can be used on the bus to put over the seat so that it feels like more clean. All kinds of things you can use it for. You can use it in some countries to for modesty, or just maybe so your blonde hair doesn't show and no one can know from across that you're a tourist. A lot of things. Okay, for carry-ons, I highly recommend you as I mentioned, the roller carry-on, make sure it's the smaller size, zip, waterproof. But then I also have a bag that I hook onto that carry-on, which makes it so much easier to carry places. And I make sure that bag is waterproof and zipped. You don't want it toppling over and your stuff going everywhere. Zippers are great when traveling. Water and rain gear are really important. So many times I have not expected it to be so rainy, or I've literally walked through like a river and you can't avoid it sometimes. So either your shoes are going to get soaked, or you're wearing plastic shoes, or sandals, which is awesome. Even if it's tennis shoes, that dries out. But if it's leather, that's not a good thing to wear when it's rainy. So careful with that. Poncho is nice to have, but you can usually buy the poncho or umbrella wherever you go. But the shoes part is more important because you can't really think, oh, it's raining outside. Let me go just buy a pair of shoes on the stand outside the hotel. But you can do that with an umbrella if you need to. All right, we're down to the last few. Sit in the front whenever possible, especially as a female traveler for safety reasons. Usually in buses are very safe. I sat in the back and the front, but once there was a weird vibe or thing going on in the back, I would recommend the front as much as possible. And also you get to see the view a little bit better. And you can talk to the driver. If they're willing to talk, they'll tell you about the area. Or if you don't know where to get off, you can ask questions more easily. It's always a little bit better to sit in the front if possible. I recommend buy your toiletries or liquids when you arrive rather than lugging really heavy shampoo or things in your suitcase unnecessarily. Two apps that I use a lot are Google Translate and the conversion rate app. Those are so easy, so good. And Google Translate has a way to record other people's voices, not record, but they don't even have to type it in. So if you're in a location where, if you don't, they just say it and then it translates for you. Learn a little bit of the language wherever you go, even if it's just thank you or hello or their greeting. It goes a long way. Flexibility, as I said, try new things, but know your parameters. And then last but not least is health. Health is so important. I have been injured. I was injured in Norway. I fell while I was looking at the aurora borealis, the northern lights. It was a gorgeous experience. 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning in this park. One of the best experiences of my life, but there was ice and I slipped and I fell really hard on my back. I still have issues to this day. And I had to go to their urgent care, it's like the emergency room. And it was so cheap. I did not have health insurance there. I should have. But even without health insurance, I think it was like $50 or $80 total, including the medication. That's amazing. But I still recommend that you get traveler's health insurance. It's very inexpensive. I think I've gotten it for $40, $50 for a month before. It's so nice to have that protection. And don't be afraid to go to the doctor in other countries. So don't be afraid of medical care in other countries. Go for it, actually. And I got some great Ayurveda. I went to a great Ayurveda doctor in India as well. I got some great supplements, treatments. It was amazing. So that is all I see. I have gone over 15 minutes, an hour, 15 minutes, just with the content. Sorry about that, but I hope it's been helpful for you.